was my first time camping alone. I hadn't been inside a tent since last summer, and all night I could hear deer making their way through the New York forest. The campsite doubled as a shooting range, and the scattered shotgun shells put me on edge. I was crossing my fingers every time I heard a noise, hoping nobody would show up. At this point, I'm barely into my trip, and I still have so much pent-up anxiety about being out on my own. I'm unsure of where to go and how to function independently. I'm ignoring these fears and pushing forward, but soon enough it all comes back to bite me.
Whoa!
My whole life I've been a homebody. In a homeschooled family of 9, you don't have much time for travel. Once I graduated high school, I worked as a line cook and felt like I wasn't getting anywhere. I didn't know if I wanted to go to college. I didn't know what I wanted to do for work. I didn't know what would make me happy. I took off on this trip with a hope of magically finding direction. The same hope that drives other people to join the military or turn to religion. At this point in my trip, I'm driving to Gettysburg. I'm lonely, I'm tired, and I'm questioning my motives behind this trip. And it's 92 degrees and humid in Pennsylvania. 5 hours later, I'm looking for a free campsite, but I'm not sure where it is. My anxiety begins to build from my uncertainty of where to sleep. I can't find a campsite, and I don't want to camp illegally by accident. I also don't want to sleep in my car for the first time in 92-degree weather. A little while later, I reached my breaking point. It's not very often I get overcome by anxiety. At home, I keep myself in comfortable situations, so it almost never happens. Once I got to the hotel, I reached out for help. I texted my Auntie Shai, my Uncle Brian, and my girlfriend Emily. My aunt and my uncle had both been on cross-country trips, and they provided similar but conflicting advice. My aunt assured me that no matter what I did, they would support me back home, and that there's no shame in turning around. She also said that I would have work if I came back home. My uncle heavily encouraged me to keep going. He assured me everybody has these anxious moments, and it's all part of the journey to learn how to get past them. My girlfriend Emily put everything in perspective. She said of course I could turn around if I need to, but it would be a waste of all the time and energy I put into this trip to give up this early. And I should at least try for a little bit more. Because of her, I kept going. The next day, I went back to Mashaw State Forest, got a camping permit, and set up camp for a few days. I continued to feel as I did before, anxious, depressed, and lonely. 3 days later, I was sitting in a McDonald's talking to friends and family on Facebook, trying to get some advice and direction on my trip. And then, for no particular reason, I felt better. I think it was the encouragement I got from everybody back home. I didn't feel lonely, anxious, or depressed anymore. I just felt ready to go. 2 weeks into my trip, I arrived at my first mental pit stop, Prince Bay Farms. For 2 weeks, I worked a few hours every morning in exchange for a room and 3 meals a day. The owner of the farm was Nick Prince. He took over the farm after his family had abandoned it. Nick is a super intelligent hippie with an encyclopedic memory. His vast knowledge expanded to his garden. He had all sorts of plants, including tomatoes, noodle beans, pecan trees, grapevines, strawberries, cacti, and all sorts of flowers and herbs and spices. All of these plants he had collected over years of research. The pace of life on the farm was very slow. Me and the other volunteers would work in the morning, and all afternoon we would sit on the porch and chat. Sometimes we would go for a swim or watch a movie. It was nice to have regular company after being alone for so long. The farm was almost perfect except for one thing: Wi-Fi. My Achilles heel. I had spent most of my days on the farm hanging out with other volunteers. All of them left about 1 week into my stay, then I fell right back into my old routine. All I did was binge Video Game Donkey and drink tea in my free time. I could have been reading or writing or doing anything more productive than watching YouTube. When the end of my stay at the farm came around, I decided I needed to move on. The farm was amazing, but once left to my own devices, I unfortunately fell back into old habits. On June 12th, I started off again further down the coast to check out some new cities. For whatever reason, while I was on this beach in Florida, it finally hit me. I was committed to absolutely nothing. I had ties to nobody. I had involvement in nothing. The only thing in the world that concerned me was this beach, my book, and nothing else.
About her is because she